Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is Full Time Devils. I've got him and I've got him, and we're going to do a preview for Brighton. And if you was early, you might have got a little treat. Anyway, so first things we're going to be talking about is fluency. No, not languages. Midweek defeat in Europe with a rotated side. Could this affect the game? Do you think we was right or wrong to do it? Like, do you think this is a totally separate entity, or is form going to play a part in this? Dave, what do you reckon?
I think first up, rotating the team is what you need to do in multiple competitions. If United want to be successful both in the Champions League and the Premier League, it's just what's got to happen. I think bringing Paul Pogba off when he did was clever. Paul Pogba playing, starting at the weekend after injury, then coming off after about 60 minutes against Basel. For me, that was perfect. I think it was just about maybe the decisions that Mourinho made in terms of his rotation wasn't quite right. I would have potentially taken off Lukaku if I'd brought Zlatan on. I think either you play them as a two with one behind the other, or you don't play them together, because forcing Lukaku out wide arguably cost the goal that Basel scored. They went down the right-hand side. There was a 2v1 on the fullback, and unfortunately that's where the goal came from. That was Lukaku's flank where he was defending. But still, I like the rotation. United have got 12 points. I don't think a team in history have not made the Champions League knockout stages with 12 points. So we're fine in that tournament. Maybe even coming second in the group, maybe a better draw for us. So it's one of these things where I think the rotation is absolutely on point at the moment. I don't think it will affect the fluency or the rhythm of Manchester United.
Adam, what do you reckon? Personally, I like it like that we're rotating, because last year that was the major criticism that I had of Mourinho, is that we didn't rotate enough.
Yeah, we didn't last season, and we were all unhappy to see Zlatan starting week in, week out against the lower sides that you wouldn't expect him to start against. And I wouldn't have been surprised if, even before the Newcastle game, Jose had already had his 11 in mind for Newcastle, Basel, and for Brighton, because he has to plan ahead. Obviously, when things happen to players like Bailly and they get called out, we have to make changes, and we're not going to be with Bailly or Phil Jones for this game, so we're likely to have to stick with Smalling and Rojo, or Smalling and Lindelof, depending on how Rojo's reaction has been. But apart from that, I think we'll make a lot of changes. Both fullbacks will get changed. Goalkeeper, Matic will probably start this one. And there'll be a freshness to the side. I'm not concerned too much. Obviously, I was disappointed that we lost against Basel, but you can kind of, it felt like a Europa League game that day, where you kind of know the players aren't too arsed about the match. And it's not a good attitude to have, but goes somewhat to explaining the result and maybe the failure to take our chances. I think if we needed to win that game against Basel, we would have beat them.
I think you're probably right, and it was a little bit disappointing the way the game ended, but overall I'm not that bothered in the grand scheme of things, because we are going to progress. We're probably still going to win the group. It's just one of them, isn't it? Like, yeah, we definitely rotated with our eye on other stuff, and I think ultimately it doesn't matter how you progress out of the group, as long as you progress. That's the whole idea of having like a league system. The next topic we're going to talk about then is Marcus Rojo. Came back midweek against Basel. Didn't look like he skipped a beat, did he? I thought he was one of the better performers for United this weekend. Do you think there's any chance of seeing him? Personally, I think he's going to be on the bench. Do you think there's any chance of seeing him at all this weekend against Brighton, Dave?
I think you've got to start him, to be quite honest. I think we saw again what Chris Smalling's massive sort of deficiencies and inabilities as a footballer when defending flanks. He just doesn't know what to do. Rewinding that move, there were a lot of individual mistakes. You see the Martial not tracking back. Ashley Young jumps out of the four-man defence. Smalling, goes over, but he doesn't commit a foul. In that situation where he can bring down the opponent's fullback at that point, Yedlin, he's got to make that challenge if he wants to become a top-class defender. Needs to know when to make those tactical fouls. The best defenders we've seen in our whole generation of football fans are always Italian defenders. You think at the moment Chiellini, Bonucci and Barzagli are probably some of the best centre-halves in world football. They would have taken the yellow card there. They would have gone in, cleaned out the man, the goal doesn't go in. And I think that for United is something they need. That's something that Marcus Rojo potentially would have done. We saw him against Basel, and he was absolutely fantastic. 1 block, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, 4 clearances, 92 passes, and he won 100% of his tackles. Of course, hit the bar as well. He gives us that sort of element that is really weird to see Marcus Rojo, because the Rojo under Van Gaal is completely different than the Rojo under Mourinho. He seems to be a Mourinho player, likes to defend his own penalty area, likes to make tackles, likes to make last blocks. We didn't see that under Van Gaal. We saw more of an attacking fullback in a way that was positionally really poor. But what I'm going back to the original point of him rotating out to that wing, he does that a lot better than Chris Smalling, having played left fullback for a majority of his career. So I want to see Rojo back. I want to see him with Lindelof, to be quite honest.
Adam, what do you reckon? Do you think you're going to see much of him this weekend?
I would like to see Rojo start. I think Jose did comment in today's press conference as well that there's no problem with his injury or anything like that. So it's only whether he's feeling tired from that game. But you've got to remember he played, was it 45 or 60 minutes for the 23s the week before? And he started that game and then he's played this game. So I'm hoping he can start the game and maybe come off after 60 minutes or something like that, because I think Rojo, out of the defenders we've got available, is definitely our best centre-half. And I think he's in our top three as well. But I just want to talk about Chris Smalling. I think Chris Smalling's performances have been better recently. I don't think he's looked as shaky as he has been at times under Jose Mourinho. And there was something he said in the press conference before the Basel game, which I really, really love to hear from him, because we don't really get to hear that kind of side from him. And it was fighting talk from Chris Smalling. He came out and said, when speaking about England, that if I'm playing well for Man United and I'm playing well for Jose Mourinho, England have to pick me. And he mentioned the players that had been picked ahead of him and stuff. And you could tell he was a player that was a little bit offended by not being selected for England. He's a little bit offended by some of the criticism that he receives. I think he deserves a lot of the criticism he receives, but even he said it himself, I've won everything but the Champions League. And we kind of forget he has done a lot of good for us as well. Yes, he's still at times a little bit shaky, but when he's good, he's very good. And I hope that will give Chris Smalling a kick up the arse for the rest. Obviously, you want him to be playing well for United anyway, but with the World Cup on his mind and with that attitude coming out, I think Jose would have liked to hear that from Smalling.
I'm glad you touched on the press conference, because Jose did mention the press conference, and I think the exact words that he used was, we're giving him a day to see how he reacts. He might need a little bit more time after game in midweek with having so long out. And I think that, to me, is a bit of a signal that this guy's probably going to be on the bench. I think he'll be involved in the squad, but I think he's probably going to go with, and let's face it, Brighton aren't scoring a hell of a lot of goals. I think he's probably going to switch it up and maybe see Lindelof and Smalling and have Rojo on the bench. I think that's probably more likely. I hope Tuanzebe's involved as well as a second option. Before we get into the starting 11s, then we're going to have a quick little break. I feel so much better after that, thank you. Right, here's the starting 11s then. Before we get into the starting 11s, Mark, you are top of the league with 55. You've got Dot Joshy on 48, John Sheen on 47, Statman Dave on 39, Ben Pearce on 36, Suf 32, blah, 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 blah.
Forget them. We don't want to hear who's down at the bottom of the table. No one wants to know about the Brightons and all them.
And we got a couple of comments before we allow you guys to give your teams. So some of the comments that we've got is Matt Behan, Dave's open cupboard doors are annoying. Yeah, that's just basics, that, Dave. Can you imagine having him on a submarine with you? Leave the hatch open.
On a submarine?
Muneeb says Damian and Blind need to get their shit together.
Who and Blind?
Damian. Gary John Navida says, actually, if we win our group the way things are going, we may end up playing Real Madrid or Juventus in the knockout stages. Can't worry about who you get in the next round. It's the Champions League. Everyone's going to be pretty decent.
I think we do. Yes.
Michael Jones says Shaw should have played. Kind of agree with that, actually. I think Luke Shaw definitely needs minutes. He's not going to improve by not playing football, is he? The only way he's going to get better and prove what he can do is by proving what he can do. Yeah, absolutely. MDV Gaming says, I like Shaw, but I think he's done at United. Like Adam just said, it seems like he isn't going anywhere, but I agree. It definitely feels like the end is nigh with Luke Shaw if he's not being able to get in a team ahead of people who aren't left-backs. Right, so give us your starting 11s then. David, we'll start with you, and you're now closed cupboards. What do you reckon?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Obviously, if you got any complaints, get them in the comments and we can eradicate issues like that so you can focus on the football. I'm going to go with a 4-2-3-1. I think that's United's best sort of system when Paul Pogba's fit. With David De Gea in goal, Tony Valencia, Victor Lindelof, Rojo and Young. I think the Lindelof-Rojo could be a sort of partnership that might blossom in terms of Lindelof isn't your most aggressive centre-half, and Rojo is, and he does like to get out there, similar to sort of a Bay-Lindelof pairing. I think with Lindelof as well, it's just giving him these game times and getting him adjusted to the Premier League again. He came in not really at that same sort of tempo of dealing with long ball after long ball after long ball. It's different when you play for Benfica and you've got the ball at your feet because you're attacking to the Premier League where you're getting bombarded. So time is going to be crucial for Victor Lindelof in the game. Last weekend, he created the joint most chances for Manchester United on the pitch, and he's at centre-half. Remember the ball that he played to Lukaku over the top? I think he's going to be brilliant for United. Ashley Young as well. I know that Stephen Howson isn't a massive fan of Ashley Young, but this season for me, Ashley Young has been fantastic, and his delivery from wide areas we saw again last weekend against Newcastle to put the ball in the right area for Chris Smalling to finish it off. Young is doing so well on that left-hand side. There was a little bit of an issue in terms of the goal we conceded, his positioning, but he corrected that, and again showing his experience to adjust a little tactical thing in the game. Fantastic. Pogba, of course, and Matic in midfield. Pogba this season's been directly involved in a goal every 72 minutes. From central midfield, that's the best record of any midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And Pogba back next to Matic, give him that freedom to drift to the right-hand side, would be perfect. And they're going to go for a front three that we probably won't expect. With 3 behind Lukaku of Juan Mata on the right, Mkhitaryan as a 10 and Rashford. I'd rather kind of see the Martial, Rashford, Lukaku triangle again, but I kind of think that Mourinho's going to have given Mkhitaryan some time off and he'll be back in the team. I think tactically as well from corners, Mkhitaryan could be a big asset for United. Again, Brighton have got a slight weakness at the back post from corners. And of course, the big man up front, Romelu Lukaku.
Dave, can I just address the Ashley Young thing here? Because a lot of people always...
I'm going to defend Steve on that, actually, because I think Steve's right about Ashley Young. I think... Now, I love when people...
Hang on, Adam, let me say what I'm going to say, because what you're going to say is afterwards probably going to make sense. So what I was going to say is, you just said Ashley Young was absolutely fantastic. Dave, I don't hate Ashley Young, but I have to address comments when someone says absolutely fantastic. He's been passable average at best. No, he's not been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. For the last 4 or 5 games...
He's ranked in the top 5 in the Premier League of assists from defenders. If that's not good, then I don't know what is.
Okay, but can I also just throw in that the fact that he loses the ball in his third? I'm all for people trying things to make chances happen in the opposition third, but from a player of his experience, I expect better. His pass completion is the lowest in the club. It's nearly 50% on some games.
Club. Now that is going to be some absolute rubbish. I get that right now. You continue, Adam. You dive in now. You should stand your point, and I'll just prove Howson wrong here.
I think
it's consistently the worst in the team.
I think Ashley Young's he's turned into a decent left back. But I think he's a left back for these kind of games, at home against Brighton, at home against Newcastle. Going away to Arsenal next week, I wouldn't want to see Ashley Young really starting. Going away to the likes of Man City or anyone like that, I wouldn't want to see Ashley Young starting. I think he's got far too many, there's far too many disadvantages to his game. Like he says, his passing isn't always spot on. Yes, his crossing is better than all of our other fullbacks, but I think that shows you how poor our fullback selection is at the moment, rather than how good Ashley Young is. But I don't dislike Ashley. I like Ashley Young. He's a very good squad player to have, and he's a very good player to bring in. But I think it's for games like this. And if we were going into the semi-finals of the Champions League, quarter-finals of the Champions League, and Ashley Young's at fullback,
but then it's going to be different, isn't it? Ashley Young would probably be used in midfield like he was used against Liverpool, to protect a fullback in a way.
Will it be different because we've got Matteo Darmian and Daley Blind turning up to a game against Basel, which, fair enough, you might think we're relaxed, but they've not been starting recently, yet they play like utter dog shit. You'd think they'd want to battle for a side. So at the moment, we haven't got any fullbacks that are saying, I'm going to start every week, apart from Valencia and
Ashley Young.
But Ashley Young has got, he's not great at fullback.
I've got no problem with you saying that he might be the best option that we can have. But I do have a problem with you saying absolutely fantastic, Dave. This is Manchester United. We have higher standards.
Absolutely blind.
You have higher standards and saying
personal hatred of Ashley Young is just like completely blinded you, mate. It's blinded you.
Dave.
Absolutely blinded you.
Dave, I'm trying to be relaxed here, right? 50-60% pass completion isn't absolutely fantastic. If you say it's the best of what we've got, I can say fine.
Hang on. What do you want a fullback to do?
I don't want him to lose it in our third and put us under pressure.
That's what you want him to do.
No, I don't want him to lose it in our third and put us under pressure.
Bullying Stephen Howson here,
yeah,
mate.
I think you're a joke, David, honestly.
You're coming on here, bullying.
Swinging your nuts around.
Just not on, Dave.
Not on.
Down.
Anyway, Adam, give us your starting 11 that doesn't include Ashley Young.
David De Gea in goal, Valencia, and Ashley Young as well. I don't mind Ashley Young, man, but in games at Brighton and Newcastle we can play. It's all right. So Ashley Young, Valencia at fullback. Who did I put at centre? Let me just check who I sent to Chris at centre half. Smalling and Rojo at centre half I've gone with, but yeah, after Jose's comments, it doesn't sound hopeful. But I'm top of the league. I can do what I want. Matic and Pogba, Rashford, Mata, Martial, and Lukaku.
Alrighty then. Right, Dave, give us something about Brighton and Hove Albion. I saw your extensive research yesterday.
Brighton and Hove.
What did you learn?
Pretty decent research. I learned that Ashley Young might be actually crucial in this game, and Antonio Valencia. I think one of the things that Brighton don't do too well is close down the cross, and I think that would work against teams that may be more of a technical side that have small forwards. What we know from Manchester United is there's a lot of big lads in there. The likes of Lukaku, what he can do to defenders and bully them. So there's a bit of space that the likes of Young and Valencia and Paul Pogba, of course, did it very well against Newcastle, drift wide and get crosses into the box. But more crucially, Brighton, in terms of their block and how it's positioned on the pitch, it's quite high, so the defensive line is quite high. But the problem with that is that they don't press in the centre part of the pitch. So people like Paul Pogba, if he can get his head up out of pressure and look for the ball over the top, that's how United will extensively tear Brighton a new one, because that pressure, if you don't have it, your defensive line needs to drop. At the moment, Chris Hughton's side isn't dropping on the defensive line. So there's a bit of a technical issue there for Brighton. I think with Pogba in both of those positions, that's where United are going to get at Brighton.
Adam McKola.
Wagwan.
Brighton, talk to me. You like a night out with Brighton, don't you?
I like that knockout lad. I like watching him last season for them. I know earlier in the season he wasn't starting every single game, and I haven't seen much of Brighton in the last couple of weeks, as much as I did see him in the start of the season. But they're a good team, innit? And Chris Hughton is a decent manager that belongs in the Premier League, to be fair. Glenn Murray is their top goal scorer. He's got 4 goals. And the other day, he was talking some proper Brexit talk about, if I had a Spanish-sounding name, people would be talking about me. Mate, you've scored 4 fucking goals this season. I think Chris Smalling's got 2. You know what I mean?
How many's Fellaini got?
Murray, have a day off. He's going to score now, isn't he?
Glenn Murray's also 175 years old, I think, as well.
But one man that you've got to watch out for Brighton is Pascal Gross. Now,
Thank you! Yes, producer Chris! Yes, drink! I said Dave's going to mention him.
Yeah, top player. Really like him. Attacking midfielder, playing a bit off.
He's got a funny German name, Dave.
Off Glenn Murray.
Yeah.
No, he's a good player. Hey, will you keep your Brexit to yourself, Stephen Howson? When I talk about this German import that is of the top quality. In terms of what he's done for Brighton this season, he's been good both in a goal-scoring sense and a creative sense. In terms of his goal-scoring, he's really good at ghosting into the penalty area. Those late runs, the classic Lampard run, getting into the right position at the right time and then having that composure to put it into the back of the net. Dangerous from range as well. But more importantly, it's his ability to drift to the flanks. In this system that Hughton's got, the 4-4-2, it's sort of geared to playing down the wings, with Knockout on one side. But Pascal Gross is good at drifting and then crossing the ball. In terms of assists this season, only Manchester City trio, Leroy Sané, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne have got more assists than him. So watch out for big Pascal.
Can I just say, though, because everyone's talking about the league position is great that they're in. I think a lot of people expect them to be fighting relegation. But if you look at their recent form, they are undefeated in the last 5 games. They lost to Arsenal, then they've gone on a bit of an undefeated run. They drew to Everton, beat West Ham, drew with Southampton, beat Swansea, and drew with Stoke. That's not exactly pulling trees up, is it? Really? That's some awful sides that they've played in that last 5. The last real test, Arsenal got beat comfortably 2-0. I expect Manchester United to go and run these over. I'm thinking it's another 3 or 4 absolute drumming from United. What do you lads reckon? Score prediction?
5-0.
5-0. Adam, we're breaking the mould, are we?
Bro, I broke the mould when I was born, mate. 5-0.
I'm going to go 4. Ashley Young hat-trick.
I've successful crosses into the box.
Of assists.
He's not having 3 crosses into the box successful tomorrow. I'll bet you 20p.
Why do you hate
deal.
Ashley Young, Steve?
Don't hate him. He's just not very good. I'll support him, but I know sometimes you know the limitations. Like, if I was running a marathon, you'd be going, go on, Steve. You ain't going to finish this. Right, do you know what I'm saying? You'd be supportive, but realistic.
You ain't lasting fucking the first mile, pal.
I get about a mile and a half in. Don't be like that. Right, anyway, thank you guys for watching us. We've got the full match day coverage tomorrow. Start with the live team news, all the fan cams and all the rest of it afterwards. And then the ceremony where Dave's going to anoint me my 20p after the match. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in a bit.